Salutations! Welcome to Loving the Language of Literacy. My name is Sophia Lee, and today this is my very first writing vlog of 2016. So in addition to my list of writing resolutions for this year, I kind of forgot to, only because I only thought of this today. I actually want to vlog quite a lot in the year 2016, my entire experience with writing, what I am doing for inspiration, what I'm doing in terms of developing on ideas and plot and characters, and basically everything and anything that falls within the whole sphere of writing and being a writer in general. I want to vlog about it, and because I literally only thought of this today, I don't have multiple clips for different times in this month, but that is what I'm planning on doing for vlogs in the future. And the way this is sort of going to go, it's going to be a new series done at least once a month with a monthly wrap-up, but hopefully more as I just sit down in front of the camera and basically say whatever the heck I want to about what I'm currently writing, and hopefully those will develop into longer, more intricate / detailed vlogs. And I am just so excited to see where this goes, because I don't actually know what I'm going to be saying this entire year, and I don't know what I'm going to be writing, I don't know what I'm going to be discovering, and it is truly just going to be a journey. And today, to wrap up the month of January, I have 5 different writing related things to talk about, and I am so excited to share with you everything that I've done, everything I've planned for, and everything I have accomplished. The first 2 things on my list are sort of connected, and that is the composition of Silence and Shatterings, which is an extremely personal memoir that I wrote in the very beginning of this month. This ties into the second point, which is the reason why I wrote this memoir, which was part of my application to a 3-week intensive writing camp hosted by Bard College at Simon's Rock. Long story short, I might as well just cut to the chase. I got in, and I can't express to you how, and I know this is going to sound really egotistic, but how proud of myself I am for accomplishing this, mostly because to see the whole development from September to January of actually finding out about the camp for one of my parents' students, to anticipating applying for it, to actually applying for it and getting my butt off of my couch and actually writing the darn application, to being accepted. The whole prompt surrounding it was to write a sort of nonfiction memoir about a specific time in your life when words meant a lot. This takes place essentially 2 days before my mom passed away due to esophageal cancer. And the book that I read that kind of helped prepare me to lose her, as well as prepared me to go on without her, which I know seems like the same thing, but it's kind of not in terms of what I went through at that time. I was definitely not in a good frame of mind, and I was in this super negative place. I was just not very pleasant to be around, to be perfectly honest, for my friends, my family, or anyone else that I knew / associated with. And I read this book, Audacious by Gabrielle Prendergast. It set something off in me. It switched a light, and I no longer was the withdrawn person who had spent really the first 2 months, June and July of the summer of 2013, alone in her room, avoiding contact with people as much as possible. And it reminded me that yes, I do have quite strong beliefs, I do have desires for what I want to do with my life, and I gotta cut it out and speak up for myself and who I am and who I want to be. That is exactly what I tried to capture. Apparently, due to the fact that I got accepted into the camp, I did pretty well on it. This truly was such a milestone in terms of my writing so-called career, as well as who I am as a person, and the 1.5 years that I have gone since losing my mother and who I've become without her. I'm hoping Silence and Shatterings did who I was at the time justice, and as this year goes on, I most definitely want to expand upon that time in my life and write more pieces of creative nonfiction. Item number 3 on my list is a Saunders denouement. Oh my goodness, my second marking period writing portfolio was due last Wednesday, and I can't describe to you how stressful of an experience that was. Basically, while I already had the actual site set up from last marking period, I went above and beyond and gave myself probably a good 6 more hours of work than was already needed on top of the work to compile everything into the portfolio. But nonetheless, I do not regret a single moment of it, and I am extremely proud of what I produced. In the past 20 of what I consider the most volatile, most important weeks of my writing life up to date, I have produced 68 shareable pieces on my portfolio consisting of creative nonfiction, poetry, and prose. I divided it into in progress or ready as it'll ever be, excerpts from my NaNoWriMo novel Countdowns, as well as the 3 categories of poetry that I dubbed the illustrious, the yearning, and the abandoned. The abandoned being poems that I just wrote and don't really want to do anything more with. The yearning meaning something that I've composed and I want to make it better and revise, but I'm not quite sure how to go about that. And then the illustrious, which are what I just like to call the pats on my back because I'm such a great writer. At least that's what I was thinking when I set it up in my head. In terms of other elements for the portfolio that I had to work on, there was a best work showcase, which was the top 10 pieces in the portfolio, which for me was so hard to do considering I had 68 of them. I personally made it the Sophia Lee Award Show, at least that's what I called it in the portfolio, and I had different awards like most deep, most spontaneous. One of the awards was literally called I don't know what this is, ellipses, but I like it. And that was actually about the poem Another Prince Charming, which I have a whole video about. And on top of that, probably one of the most important aspects, aside from the writing itself in the portfolio, was what I called denouement, which if you don't know, denouement is a final conclusion kind of after the climax and the pinnacle and just everything that your story, whether it's real or fictional, has become. And for me, the denouement was the final writing reflection, which I wrote literally the night before the whole portfolio was due. It was just under the 1,500 word limit, and I did my very best to express everything that I learned and how I grew in the time of the 2 marking periods I've been in the creative writing course. On top of all that, I had photos with some of my own original words superimposed onto them. I will have some images around my head to try and explain that better. And my lovely, amazing friend Maddie, also in the creative writing course, who is a fantabulous photographer, allowed me to use the images. I think the combination of the 2 sort of mixed media forms is freaking awesome. On top of that, because we know this is my booktube channel for crying out loud, I made a 2-minute introductory video just showing people around my site, and I had that on the homepage, and I don't actually know if my teacher played it for the class, but if he did, I will be very thankful for the fact that when I return back to the United States, I'm not going to be in that class because mortal embarrassment of me being on video in a 2-minute presentation in front of my class. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a very smart idea now that I think about it. The 4th point I have to make is literally the work of only a day, and I swear to goodness, I would have worked harder on this and spent more time on it during the month of January, but I was unable to because of the portfolio. But as my 4th point, I would like to say that I have started a writing notebook. This is actually, doesn't have that many pages in it because I mostly thought I might give up on it and not need all the pages that would be in a full notebook. But anyways, point is, I have started my outline, and I do mean an official handwritten outline of Countdowns, which is my NaNoWriMo 2015 novel. And I do own the software Scrivener, but something that I have found in terms of general cognitive thinking is that I think about things so much more and to a much higher quality when I'm writing them down by hand. So I have my Scrivener outline that I'm writing things down and working them out by hand and then changing it on the Scrivener outline. Obviously, there's probably more efficient way to do this. On the next few pages, I kind of have just this bunch of prose. Honestly, looking at this, don't really remember what it's about. I think this is like my pitch for it and trying to develop on the ideas. The last thing I want to show you / talk about that happened this month was just my composition notebook. I've had this obviously since November of 2015. It is January of 2016 right now, and I am honest to goodness hoping by the time I'm in England that all these pages will be filled. That is sort of a pipe dream considering my daily average for writing by hand in a notebook and the addition of a new notebook for Countdowns. But anyways, point is, I have a notebook. 90% of this is just poetry and basically my thought vomit and everything that I think of having to do with writing and stories and just my experiences in life in general. In terms of just completely random things that I wrote about this month in my composition notebook, I wrote a sort of letter to my future child. And obviously I'm a teenager. I don't know if I'm gonna even have children. I don't know if I'm gonna get married. I don't know what's gonna happen in my life. I know that no matter what happens from who I am present moment and what I have learned from different households that I've lived in. This is what I want for them. So that was really interesting to write. I wrote this other poem. I basically call it Darcy versus Knightley fan fiction. I haven't actually read anything by Jane Austen, but I am obsessed to no end with Emma Approved and the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. I know I mentioned this in All the Things 2015, but I was feeling kind of down this month and I rewatched all 72 episodes of Emma Approved and all 100 episodes of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. I don't regret it one bit at all. I wrote 2 poems based on some kind of BuzzFeed list of 30 words we don't have in English but should. I actually wrote this entire page as sort of an excerpt from my NaNoWriMo novel, but it was taking a completely different direction and I never considered this for the character and I want to definitely add it. I wrote this other poem expressing my, let's admit it, anger towards my new school in Oxford, and it's one of my very first and only structured poems where I've followed a certain word limit, capitalized, stressed, syllable limit structure to it, which is completely different. I wrote this really great poem that it isn't finished, but I would love nothing more than to build it up to what it can be, and it is called How to Make a Room Fall Silent, a Recipe for Soup, which I think could be very interesting as well as controversial. In Oxford, my school has this thing called First Story, and after school on Mondays, we go in and we're usually given a prompt or allowed workshop time to just develop. This particular week, we were talking about concrete and abstract images. We went over the poem Funny by Anna Kamienska. I'll post the name because I can't pronounce it. It was about a bird who asked what it was like to be human. And in the very end of the poem, the bird just flew away because it meant nothing of any consequence to him, but it expressed all these different, very poetic images of what it actually means to be human. I personally wrote something that I later titled A Pill's Inquiry, which started with the phrase, "What's it like to be happy? Ask the pills." And it goes through this whole explanation from a girl who is obviously suffering from some sort of mental illness, but is managing to tell these pills, probably the ones that she has to consume, and it ends with the lines, "The pills responded, I wish I could create that without also taking it away." Something I kind of want to mention before I wrap up this video is that this YouTube channel, it's not going to be what I expected, and it's not going to be what you expect it to be from now on. I went extremely gung-ho with my video schedule and everything that I produced in the first half of January, but during the last half, because of just things going on in my personal life, I got tired and I didn't have enough energy to properly film a video and be able to convey everything I wanted to say. And I think that more vlog videos like this will become more commonplace. Something I want to bring up, which is related in fact to writing in general, is my fascination as of only this month with linguistics and languages. I've always loved languages down to when I was 3 years old and my mom, who was pretty fluent in Italian and knew scads full of French and Spanish, when I would ask her to tell me words in those languages and I would have to guess what they meant in English. Now that I'm a teenager in high school and in charge of my education to some extent, I am enrolled in French 2 and Spanish 1. And I'm having an absolute blast. I've actually been doing outside bettering of my knowledge and education in the French and Spanish language, and I swear in the past month I have learned more French and just doubled to a degree higher than what I've done in the past 12 months of actual class instruction. I've basically exploded in terms of languages and how they work. And I've definitely had a stronger resolve in my mind that I want to do something not only with composition, but with linguistics and the actual structure of language. I realized this actually last Friday when I was in English and my teacher was going on and on and on about auxiliary verbs and the different types of adjectives and adverbs and everything else that we give these complicated ass names to in the English language. But I realized I didn't actually find it boring, and more to the point, I found it quite fascinating, and I had so many light bulbs going off in my head with, oh my god, we're doing this in English, and this is making sense of why we do it in French as well. I just wanted to announce to you that I am now kind of obsessed with learning languages, and of course this is called loving the language of literacy, and I would love to be fluent in both Spanish and French. and in composition and reading and speaking, and I would love to do, I'm blanking on her channel right now, but she's this amazing booktuber who actually is studying French and is pretty damn good at it as well, and she actually has made a few videos on her channel entirely in French, and I would love to get to that point. I am going to bid you adieu and ask of you to leave in the comments below what you have done this month in terms of writing. If you're not a writer, tell me what you've read, and if you speak any other languages, I would love to know what they are, what your comprehension/fluency level is, and just what you think in general about the structure of language and why we speak and how we speak and the different connotations and denotations to words. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Keep calm, read on, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Goodbye.